Yes, people, welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all well. So we've got an interview for you tonight. Nothing going on this glorious Wednesday evening. It is Wednesday, yeah, that's correct. So we thought we'd bring you an interview. I'm joined by head lad at the Paul Nicholls Racing and just overall a racing man. I'm joined by Clifford tonight. Clifford, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Before we get started, firstly, let's say a huge thank you to you, John, for becoming a member of the channel. So, guys, get your comments and all of that jazz into the chat tonight. We're not going to do too much about particular races and things going on currently, but any other generic racing questions that you'd like to ask Clifford, get them into the chat as the show goes on. Scott, I hope you have evening. Or another great guest, certainly. I saw we serve up Scott, great guest. But let's start off then, Clifford. So how did you get into racing?
Well, I sort of dropped into it. My parents were farmers. My dad was a farmer, and I was mad into football, like most children are. When I was about just 9, maybe 10, I was playing football in the playground like you do, and I went right over on my ankle. Didn't actually break my ankle, but my parents sort of dragged me off to see a specialist, and basically I'd torn all the ligaments in my ankle. So basically, I mean, we're talking a long time ago, obviously. So in those days, the specialist said, well, you're going to have to give up football, which I wasn't sort of chuffed about because that's all I like doing. So he said, you're going to have to wear a caliber on your leg, which basically kept the leg in a particular position, which obviously I didn't want to do, but I had to do. And he did actually just come out with a comment. He said, oh, to help it heal quicker, you could go swimming or horse riding. So, I mean, where he came up with that, I don't really know, but he obviously thought it would help. And I was not a keen swimmer, so that didn't come into the equation. But by pure coincidence, we had a riding school half a mile down the road. So I just said, look, I'll go and give it a go. So I literally went down, sat on a pony, and that was it. I was hooked. And from that day, but I never stopped playing football. I used to play in the playground. I used to break all the calibers that I had on my leg, but I think it sort of held me back. So I didn't end up probably as good a footballer as I probably could have done if I hadn't have. But, you know, I enjoyed football and I played plenty of football later on.
Yeah. Did you race? Obviously, you raced yourself. How successful were you? You could be modest.
Well, I went into racing when I was 16, and when I actually went into racing, I'd never sat on a racehorse. I'd only ever sat on a pony. So it was quite new to me, and it took me a while to get going into it. But eventually I was good enough to be able to ride in a race. So my riding career basically was 17 rides, which is not a lot, but I did ride a winner.
Wow.
So I sort of achieved what I set out to do, which was to be a jockey.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too long before I realized I was not good enough to be a good jockey. So then I went into the training side instead.
Yeah. Let's head into the chat. Scott the modded deed, the super mod. I've been asked to keep an eye on you, Rich. Yeah, got to keep an eye on everybody in the chat. Of course, hope you well, Scott. Though. But now, in what you do with Paul Nicholls and just general racing, what is your daily routine with your work?
Well, my day, my alarm clock goes off at 4:45 in the morning. So I'm in work by about 5 to 5:05. First job of the day is to feed all the horses.
Yeah.
We have 3 yards. We have 82 in one yard, 62 in another, and another half a dozen in another yard. I concentrate on the 82 yard. And so basically my first hour is just feeding the horses, giving them their breakfast. And then after that we go through all the horses to see what their daily routine is going to be, see what exercise they're going to do, whether it's on our hill gallop on our flat gallops. They might school. Depends where they are in their training regime. But I mean, it's a busy morning. Takes a bit of time and concentration to make sure you get every horse doing what it's supposed to do on that particular day.
Yeah.
And then we ride 4 lots out. I don't actually ride anymore. I haven't sat on a horse for about 4 years. But that's doesn't really matter. I can see much more on foot anyway. And we ride 4 lots out between sort of 7:30 and 1:00.
Mm.
And then the horses are fed their lunch. And then we have lunch. And then we go back in the afternoon for a couple of hours. That's basically when the horses are mucked out, groomed. And my job to go around and make sure that they're all okay from the morning exercise, no injuries, and all those sort of things. And then they have a nice feed at night, and that's my sort of day.
Yeah.
It's quite a long day. I don't
Sounds like a long day. Yeah.
I don't normally get home till sort of 6 at night, but you know, it's the sort of thing. We're at the top of the tree, and we have to stay there. So you have to do everything, you know, to get the best out of the horses. So
Yeah.
all the little details make a big difference.
Definitely. JJ, hope you are well. Next to then, so what's your highlight of your training and racing career so far, would you say? What's been your favourite moment?
Oh, I've been quite lucky. I've had a lot, to be honest. I mean, I was lucky enough to be Corto Stars rider out every day. So, I mean, he's probably the best horse I've been around for the last probably 30 or 40 years. So he was a highlight. And he was lucky enough to win 5 King George Cups, which is the big race on Boxing Day at Kempton.
Yeah.
He won a lot of big races, and I was lucky enough to be very sort of close to him and part of his career. But also, he had lots of others. We had Denman and Masterminded, Big Bucks, and also Neptune Kalonji won the Grand National. So, you know, and one of my favourite horses of all time was Cool Equiname. He was sort of 25 years ago, but he was one of my favourites. But you know, I've been lucky. I've worked around a lot of good horses and a lot of nice horses, so I feel I've been lucky.
Yeah. Let's have a look in the chat. Shiny Jesus content. Jake is all about content. I don't know how you get such great guests, but you're smashing it in the Hammers circle. Thank you very much indeed, Shiny. Mike, I hope you are well. Evening. Evening, guys, all jagged up. How are you, Clifford?
I'm good, thank you. I'm all
Good,
jabbed
good.
up.
Good. Let's move on then. So, Team Ditchit, who you work with, who you see every day, who are the members, and how does it all fit together?
Yeah, well, basically, I work for Paul Nicholls, who is
Yeah.
the trainer. So it's technically his business, and I work very closely with him. But we have also an assistant trainer, which is Paul's nephew, called Harry Durham. And then we have what we call a couple of pupil assistants. The pupil assistants do all the jobs that the other 3 of us don't want to do. They're the dog's buddies, but in every work of life, you need them.
Exactly.
I mean, they do anything that needs doing, basically. And then behind that, I think we're 53 people in total that work in the office. We have 2 traveling head girls that take the horses to the races in the lorries.
Yeah.
We have a couple of farriers that do all the shoeing. So obviously horses, when they're at home on the roads, they have steel shoes. When they go to the races, they have aluminium ones, which are a lot lighter. We have a vet, we have physios. I mean, we have everything that we need. And to be honest, the horses live in a 5-star hotel. Whatever they need, they get. I mean, concentrate a lot on their diet to make sure it's spot on. with hay, haylage as well, and the diet all has to be right. To get the best out of the horse, you have to put the right things in.
Mm.
They are trained and done just like athletes, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, we're a big team, and you need a big team to run. I mean, we have 150 horses in full training for probably 9 months of the year. So you need a
wow,
big team to run all that. And,
yeah.
you need all your staff that just ride out, muck out, and do all that as well.
Yeah. An anecdotal story here. I haven't read all of this, but I was just reading it there. I jumped on a mountain horse in the Amazon. It ran flat, flat like it was being chased. It only slowed down enough for me to jump off and roll after 40 minutes. At one point, it was rearing up with the dog hanging off its nose and another three biting its leg. Shiny, I can't help but thinking that might not be completely true, but you can prove me wrong by saying that is 100% true. Here's an interesting question. What sort of diet are the horses on?
Basically, horses eat a cube like a nut, but they have everything they need in that. And I can have an input in what goes into those to try and get the best out of the horses. But basically, those horses will eat between 16 and 20 pounds of that a day, which sounds quite a lot, but they work hard, they race hard, so they need to have that fuel in them to get the best out of them. And they
Yeah.
eat what we call haylage, which is basically hay wrapped, so there's no dust in it. And that has to be made with certain things in it to keep certain levels that the horse need, like calcium, potassium, magnesium. Those
Yeah.
things have to be high to make sure the best comes out of the horse. But they need the fuel to get the best out. It's like any athlete. You got to eat the right food, and you've got to have plenty of it and the right things, and hopefully you get the best results.
Yeah, definitely. What a YouTube video that would have been with that anecdotal story. I promise you it's 100% true. Well, how you made your way through that, I do not know, Shiny. I was on the edge of a cliff when it was wearing up. Every house in Colombia has 5 angry guard dogs. But there we go. There we go. Here we go. Remember playing football in the playground, Clifford? Used to play wherever and whenever we could.
That's absolutely right. And I was just like that. I mean, I'm sure it's the same as now as it was then, but I mean, all the boys ever did was kick a football. That's all they ever did, and I'm sure they still do.
Yeah,
But
pretty
I
much.
loved it, and I was lucky enough to go on and play. I mean, the stable lads and all that do football as well, and I used to play for them. And went to France, playing French, stable lads as well. So when I was a lot younger, obviously. But
Mm,
yeah, no, I'm a. I watch. I don't watch a lot of football, but I keep an eye on football. But I mean, we're lucky enough to have Sir Alex Ferguson as one of our owners. He's probably got shares in half a dozen horses that we train.
yeah,
So we get a bit of an insight to the football. He does come down every now and then and look at the horses and has a chat about the football. But
yeah.
I don't think he's that chuffed at the moment because obviously Man U aren't doing that well.
Wow, they certainly aren't. That's for sure.
But,
If you could pick 3, what are your 3 favourite horses that you've worked with?
well, the 3 favourite, obviously, Cool Equiname was one of my favourites, and Corto Star was obviously one, and probably Denman. He
Yeah,
was, Corto and Denman had plenty of matches together. They lived in stables side by side. They're both completely different characters, but both nice in their own way, and you couldn't not like the pair of them. So, but there are lots and lots and lots of other horses and good ones that I've dealt with, and some that we've got now. So,
yeah. To you, what makes those 3 just so special and important, and why do they stick out for you?
um, I mean, a lot of it obviously is their ability. They all got to the top of the tree. They
Yeah,
all were. what we call Cheltenham Festival winners. I mean, Cheltenham Festival to us is like the Olympics. They all won there. So, they won lots of races between them, and they were a pleasure to work around. They were nice horses. They were, good race horses, but nice horses to work with, and that makes life easier from all our point of views. They wanted to race and they enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Overall, on a whole, what made you decide at a young age that this sector and this is that was the work for you? What made that decision for you?
Well, I think I was brought up on a farm, and actually, from when I was about 12 or 13, I was milking cows with my dad, looking after the calves, the young ones, and doing all that. But when I started riding ponies, I actually thought I didn't really want to work on the farm. My older brother went into the farm, but I didn't really want to do that. So I enjoyed the horses, and I wasn't a big person, so I was always going to be light enough to be to be a jockey. So
Yeah.
that was the sort of way I wanted to turn, and I quite like the idea of being a jockey. So that's why I sort of went into that sort of sphere. And to be honest, I've been doing it a very, very long time now, and never regretted any of it. So I've been very lucky. So.
Yeah. When you travel up and down the country with the horses, what's your favourite race meeting? What's the one place or specific race that you most get looking most get excited for?
Well, I mean, my favourite track is Cheltenham,
Yeah.
and my favourite race I know is the Gold Cup. I mean,
Mm.
that's the sort of, apart from the Grand National, that's the biggest race of the whole season. And I've been lucky enough to be associated with 4 different horses that have won the Gold Cup. And and one of them won it twice. So we've won 5 Gold Cups. There's only one Gold Cup, and every single owner in racing will want to own a Gold Cup winner. But obviously there can only be one a year. So and Cheltenham is, it's just the best of the best, to be fair. So,
Yeah.
but I also like going to Wincanton because it's down the road. And
Yeah.
nowadays I don't go that much. I
Mm.
mean, many years ago I used to drive up and down all over. But we have horses run from Newton Abbot, Devon and Exeter, up to Musselburgh, which is in Edinburgh, Perth, which is even higher up. We got a couple of horses going to Newcastle this weekend. Nice horse called Montmorel is running in a big race there. And then we've got runners at Newbury and Doncaster as well. And tomorrow we're at Taunton. So today we were at Hereford. So we go all over. We go all over England. And I mean, like, the Newcastle ones will go the day before and stay overnight.
Yeah.
We go to Ireland. We sent a horse over to Ireland called Frodon a few weeks ago, who won a big race over there. He went about 3 days before. He went by ferry. We sometimes have runners in France. We go down to Paris. They got a big racetrack there called Auteuil. Horses go through the tunnel like everyone else. So actually, you can get about quite easily and quickly, and horses don't mind traveling. So
There we go.
they'll travel and race without too much issue.
Yeah. Putting to the side the races that you've already mentioned, is there any other big races coming this season?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend it's known as the Ladbroke, but it's known as the Hennessy Gold Cup, which is a big staying race. That's one of the big races of the calendar. Next week we have the Tingle Creek, which is a big race. But the main big race coming up will be the King George on Boxing Day, which we're lucky enough to have won 12 times already. We'll have hopefully a couple of chances in that, Frodon and Clanderzobo. And then after that, it's all looking forward to the Cheltenham Festival, really. Which, like I said earlier, is basically our Olympics. So we'll have a few hopefully to go there. Horse called Brave Man's Game is hopefully looking like he'll be, a top horse to be able to go there and have a good chance of winning.
Yeah.
And then after the Cheltenham Festival, which is in March, middle of March, and then we have the Aintree Festival, which is beginning of April, which is obviously the Grand National meeting.
Yeah.
And we're sure to have a couple of runners in the Grand National. We normally do. We won that once back in 2012. That's a one-off race to win, and the press sort of after that is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. So that was a good race to win, and you get more recognition for winning that because it's it's a one-off race that's watched all over the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Shiny Jesus. I often wondered about travelling. Clifford, does a horse need to lie down after 2 hours on the road?
Horses are quite. Horses only sleep for apparently 4 hours a day, and they don't have to lie down. They sleep. They can sleep stood up. So, and it's quite. You quite often go around the yard, and one will have its head over the door, and his eyes will be shut, and he'll be fast asleep.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily have to do that in a 4-hour stint. So
Yeah.
horses do lie down. Some lie down more than others, but they only need 4 hours, and they'll take it whenever they want, basically. So when they go to the races, they're normally a bit too switched on to actually lie down. They're up for their sort of. They know what they're there for. They're up for that. It's a bit like, it's a bit like footballers and that. They will be up for what they're about to do. So the horses are the same.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. I didn't know horses can sleep standing up. Didn't know that. Fact of the day. There we go. Ever worked with Tiger Roll?
No, I've never worked with Tiger Roll. He's obviously trained in Ireland.
Yeah.
He's obviously won a couple of Grand Nationals and he's won around, but he's an amazing little horse, to be fair, because he's not very big and he jumps around those big fences like there. But he's obviously trained in Ireland, so I've not had any dealings with him. I've probably never seen him in the flesh either, only on telly.
Yeah. Just to finish off last couple of questions then. We had Charlotte on the channel last week. Has your experiences on a whole helped Charlotte, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The one thing in my job, you get very competitive, as you can imagine. So hopefully I've sort of put a bit of that into Charlotte as well. But also Charlotte's always taken a close interest to see how we train the horses. And training horses, you have to do properly and do that. And her training the dogs is the same. And also because we're into making sure the horses are making sure all the horses are fed well and all that. Charlotte makes sure all her dogs are fed well and looked after as well with physios and all those things. So yeah, it's sort of helped Charlotte, and Charlotte has a good work ethic, so which I have as well. So yeah, I think the two, she would find it quite helpful knowing what I do, and we can do that into the dogs as well. So
yeah, there we go. Clifford, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Anything else you'd like to add or say before we go about the horses?
No, I don't think so. But just hope we have a good season. We've had 69 winners so far this season already. Our highest was last year. We had 177. We've been 12 times champion trainer in the last sort of 15 years. So we should try and do all those things. But it's just nice to, keep kicking along and have as many winners as we can. And it's good to be on your show.
Thank you very much. And people are asking the main question, do you support a football team?
Well, I don't really support a football team as such, but I have, because Sir Alec, we know him really well. I have to follow Manchester United a little bit, which is obviously they're not doing great at the moment. But I've never really supported a proper team and always done it, if you see what I mean. Even
Yeah.
when I was younger, I never really, you know, because a lot of people from a very young age support one team. I've never really done that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody in the chat for watching. Great interview, Jake. Slightly outside of your Hammer's comfort zone, but smashing it like a seasoned pro. Thank you very much, Sean Energy. Thank you very much, Clifford, for coming on tonight.
No problem. See you again soon.
See you again soon. Drop a like on a video. Subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you're new around here, if you've enjoyed this video. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much, Clifford, once again, and we'll see you next time.